Hello and welcome to Ask Jessi Kneeland. This week's question is, hey Jessi, I was just wondering if you could explain a bit about exactly what you mean when you talk about listening to the body. It's one of those phrases that sometimes I think I understand and sometimes I'm completely lost about. So to me, first of all, I love this question. It's such a refreshing question because so often I think people really get it in their heads that they should know what everything means and they just kind of go along with it like, haha, yeah, I totally like listen to my body, or like I'm mindful, whatever these statements become so saturated that we all expect ourselves to understand exactly what they mean, but it kind of means something different to each person, and it's sometimes kind of a nebulous topic. So I love the question. Thank you for asking. The way I look at it is learning to listen to your body, or listening to your body as a skill, is about the process of learning how to distinguish the differences in the signals you're getting and then actually use them to make decisions. The easiest way that I can start a client into listening with her body is with signals that are physical and completely not emotionally loaded. So like hunger is a physical signal, but for so many women, hunger is emotionally loaded. There's a whole, years and years, sometimes decades of baggage can surround your hunger signals because you've been trying to avoid them, and then you tried to suppress them, and then sometimes they overtake you and it feels like they're trying to, make you into a crazy person. So I wouldn't start with anything that's emotionally loaded. Usually the physical signals that are the easiest to start with are thirst and fatigue and having to go to the bathroom. These are really easy physical signals to start learning to kind of conceptualize what listening to your body looks like, because the difference between thirst and I have to pee, those are two incredibly different physical signals, right? They're really clear. Pretty much everybody that I know can distinguish the difference between those two things. Then we get into more subtle stuff. So we move from the physical into the emotional signals, for example. The difference between sadness and anger, those might be a lot more subtle and nuanced, and we're never really taught the difference. So for a lot of people, it's extremely difficult to tell the difference there. Learning the difference is critical in what I teach my clients in terms of learning how to listen to your body, because your emotions are physical. They show up physically. It's a physiological impulse, and your hormones are involved, and there's all these processes that each emotion kind of triggers something that happens in your body, and then you feel a sensation. And that sensation is physical. The way that we know our emotions are happening, the way that you know when you're sad or jealous or feeling shame, there's a physical sensation associated to it. A lot of times our bodies know before our minds know. Like I might be like, oh God, what is this constricted, tight feeling in my belly? And I'm like, oh, it's dread. I'm dreading something. So learning the difference there, it's almost like a literacy. Like you have to have a literacy of being able to recognize the different signals that your body's giving you, from the physical into the emotional. And then the last one, I'm not sure what category to put this into, but things like intuition and desire, and the difference between a yes and a no. Those are things your body tells you as well. And again, you can't know what those are until you become literate at noticing the nuanced differences in the sensations. So learning to listen to your body is about becoming literate in the different signals your body gives you and knowing how to take action on each one. So the action you take when you have to pee is completely different than the action you take when you're thirsty, obviously. The action needed when you're sad is completely different than the action needed when you're angry. And there is a specific action required for every single emotion, a unique one. And then again, there's a very different action required for you when you are feeling a desire, like feeling lit up, wanting something, than there is when your intuition is telling you, back up, get away from this person, right? Or get out of this situation, something's off. So all these are ways that I consider to be listening to your body. I think when people talk about it in the mindfulness world, in the nutrition world, in the health coaching world, a lot of times what they're talking about is just hunger. Pure and simple. It's just listen to your body when you're hungry, stop when you're full, or with your workouts, like take a rest day when your body's telling you it's time to take a rest day. Go hard when your body's telling you it's time to go hard. Those are really, really simple examples of what I think most people tend to talk about when they're using this term, listening to your body. And they're really good ones. Those are really important. Knowing the difference between muscle soreness because you worked hard, for example, and joint pain. Mid-workout, you need to know the difference between those two things if you're going to stay safe. So learning the difference is a skill, and I like to think of it as a literacy. It is a skill that your brain has to find the nuanced differences in your body and start to know what they are, be able to put words to it, or at least, really clear concepts to it, and then be able to take individualized action on each signal. So mid-workout, if you felt joint pain that you're like, ooh, that's not what's supposed to happen, you stop. Mid-workout, if you feel a nice burn, a fatigue muscle, like your biceps are burning and you're like, ooh, you keep going. Maybe you even push yourself harder because it's really, you're feeling really connected right then. So being able to listen to your body affects everything. It affects your workouts, obviously, your nutrition, your ability to lose weight in a huge way. It affects your energy levels because if you're not going to bed when you first notice tiredness, you wait until like 2 a.m. for like can't stay awake anymore. Those are two different signals too, And if you're skewing and ignoring your signals all over the place, if you can't recognize them, you're blocking them with all kinds of things like substances and screens and anxiety. All these things can kind of block the signals. You're just going to have a really hard time actually knowing what is required of you in any given moment. And I mean that, again, physically, emotionally, and this other realm, you can call it spiritual. I tend to call it kind of this intuitive realm. Because, if there's somebody that you don't want to be near and your body tells you no and you don't listen or you don't know what no feels like in your body, if you're not in tune with no, you're probably going to be in situations you shouldn't be in. And likewise, you'll miss out on situations for yes, when your body's like, oh my God, you see this thing, you see horses, you see dancing, you see whatever it is that just makes your heart light up and it says yes, and then you ignore it. That is a huge missed opportunity for joy and pleasure, and you're only led to those things through listening to your body, because your body is where those signals start. And that is what I mean when I talk about it. It's why it's so important. It's a hugely crucial skill. Unfortunately, it's extremely layered, so I can't just be like, this is how you listen to your body. But I have found with clients that the most successful way of working towards literacy in this area is to start with the physical, move to the emotional, and then get into the intuitive. All of those things show up in your body, so it helps to be able to tie your understanding of something to something you already understand. So tying your understanding of lust and hunger, which are both more emotionally loaded, to thirst and having to pee, which are totally not emotionally loaded, that'll help. And then take the next step. What would be another one? Maybe some emotions, some easy emotions. And then those challenging emotions. What's the difference in your body between guilt and shame, for example, or the difference between sadness and grief? These are the things that as you kind of move along, you just have to you're basically adding to your vocabulary. Think of it that way. You're adding to your listening to your body vocabulary. So it's not just a one-stop shop of a skill. It's actually a continuation of literacy. And I hope that answers the question. Please leave me comments or questions in the comments if you want. And as always, you can hit me up on my website and ask a question, and I might use it for the series. Thank you so much.